Okay, to be honest, at this point in the game, it was hot and heavy, and I was steaming. I was up pretty good, and all of a sudden, I was buried.
I think Daniel was just tilted up, and I think he was running really bad, having a lot of rebuys. I mean, you're going to be wrong against the G there a lot of the time. I don't put my money in unless I have it.
Our first hand involved some of poker's biggest stars, Doyle Brunson, Barry Greenstein, and Daniel Negreanu.
It was just the sixth hand of the night. Action was on the loose cannon Russ Harlow, and here's how he called it.
Russ looks at ace-10 and folds.
Do you have a target number in mind?
Not today. Yesterday I had a target to walk away.
Nadia, right?
Now, yeah, that'd be great.
So then you get the passport. She won like 63. So you just all you gotta do is win 40.
Piece of cake, right?
40-ish.
Against you guys?
40, 50,000.
But there's still more loose cannons to play, so that number's got to hold still.
Yeah.
It's not.
What did he make it?
2,000. Tried to make it 4,500, by the way.
Go easy on him. It's only his third time on the show. Doyle, we are pot limit pre-flop.
Barry re-raises to $6,000. Pocket kings for Daniel.
I'd expect to see a 4-bet here typically.
Nope, just calls.
Was that just for TV time, or you really got,
Yeah, this is for TV time.
you got that tough a hand?
I was confused. I have a very good hand.
Yeah, I bet you do.
Doyle's not getting the right odds, but he is in position.
And calls.
I think by not raising, Daniel was hoping to not chase everyone out, but now he's got to play kings against two opponents.
The flop, queen deuce tray, top pair for Barry.
This is exactly the kind of flop Daniel wanted.
Greenstein fires $10,000.
Barry and Doyle both have a piece, and Barry's piece is big enough to lose him a lot of money.
Daniel just calls, and Doyle calls with middle pair.
Even with a piece of this flop, that's a pretty loose call from Doyle.
Unless you get trips on the turn. Barry checks.
Barry's now got the nut flush draw. Daniel will have no idea someone hit this 3.
This is fun. Right off the bat, I have no idea what to do.
He knows with this many players along for the ride, his kings are very susceptible.
I check.
Daniel checks.
If Barry and Daniel were checking to trap, they are in trouble.
Doyle bets 21,000. Very little hesitation move, but he calls.
Daniel can't really like that bet or the call from Barry.
Daniel calls. The river. 4 of diamonds giving Barry a flush.
All in.
Barry's all in. Daniel folds.
That's a card I didn't want to see.
I don't really see Barry making this play without a flush or a full house.
I call it.
Doyle calls and sees the bad news.
That's what I was afraid of.
You turned a 3, Doyle? If I raised the flop, I would have lost the whole thing.
Yeah, I wasn't going anywhere.
No, I had you.
You had me beat?
Perhaps.
Jeez, you gotta be kidding.
It's a story of my life lately.
So what was Barry thinking? And why did Dolly call? Let's find out as we go behind the poker face.
Just a few hands into the session, and I pick up ace queen of diamonds.
And I had come into the game thinking that I had been playing a little bit too tight, so I decided to loosen up a little bit. I raised it when I had the 6-3 of spades, and Barry Greenstein 3-bet me.
I re-raised to 6,000. Now Daniel starts thinking. It looks like he's got a good hand.
And Daniel called it. I know that neither one of them's got any cards in my range, so I decided to take a flop with it.
Flop comes queen, deuce 3. Great flop for me. I made a pretty normal bet. I thought 10,000.
And Daniel called it.
I still thought there was a decent chance I had the best hand, or that someone else had ace queen.
Well, at this point, I'm pretty sure Barry's got a big pair, and I really don't know what Daniel might have. And when Daniel called it, I decided to call it to see if I could catch a tray or a 6, and I thought maybe I could win a big pot. So I called it, and sure enough, I called it tray on the turn. To my dismay, Barry checked it.
I didn't think it was right to bet again because with a call and an overcall, the strength of the hands is enough that nobody's going to call me here if they can't beat ace queen. So I thought it was better to check.
And at this point, I'm thinking to myself, well, I'm afraid Barry might have queens full here.
Daniel checked, and now Doyle bet 21,000. That looked like a pretty strong bet to me. It was like he wasn't afraid. He wasn't betting too much. He wanted to get called. But I thought I had too much hand to fold, and I had to decide for the other 60,000, should I just move in? And one of the hands that scared me that he might have, I thought he might have flopped 3 deuces. He would bet 3 deuces like this, let me in. If I raise, I'm drawn dead to a queen. I thought it might be better to just call, keep the pot smaller, and maybe not have to put in the whole 60,000 on the river.
To my surprise, Daniel called it. I kind of expected Barry to call it. And I'm thinking to myself that Barry might actually have the hand that he did have. And then when the last card came, it was a diamond, and Barry had 60,000 left, and he let off and bet it.
I just decided that if Doyle has deuces full, there's nothing I can do. I can't get away from my hand. It's probably going to go check, check, check if I check now. So I might as well fire, take my medicine if I'm beat, and maybe I'll get paid off when I have the best hand.
Daniel passed. And I've played a lot of poker with Barry, and I know that Barry didn't want to call his money off. And the pot was lending me almost 3-1, so I decided to call it. I call it. Much to my dismay.
I got paid off by Doyle on the river. He had to hope I had aces or kings, and I won a nice pot to get ahead early in the session.
And in retrospect, again, I probably shouldn't have called him, but I did.
Tony raises with pocket eights. Ace-7 suited for the cannon. Calls.
Wrong.
Ace-10 for Daniel.
Well, if at first you don't succeed, you make it 7,000.
You must re-raise to 7 grand.
I'd say this raise is partly because Daniel thinks it might be the best hand and partly steam raise.
Barry folds.
I can feel it heat up.
I will raise the pot.
Yep. Yep. I felt it.
Hang on, I'm raising the pot.
Oh, sorry.
It's going from the frying pan just to the inferno of all fireplaces.
Tony re-pops to 24-2.
This pot's getting very big all of a sudden.
And it continues without Elizabeth.
I owe 17-4. Okay, I call.
But Daniel's going to stick.
24-2 is the bet, right?
A loose call, but not terrible against Tony's typical range.
The flop, 9-10-6. Tony with a gut shot.
This doesn't look like such a bad flop for Tony, but Daniel's hit top pair.
I'm all in.
Tony shoves.
Who cares? I guess you got, what, do you have kings now? I can't flop any better, really.
Daniel called a 4-bet with ace-10, so he's probably got to go with it when he hits top pair.
Breaking.
And he just reloaded.
I'm committed again.
No, I know you are. Okay, you can show me one, if you want. One card. Show me
I'll
one
show
card.
you one after you fold.
Oh, I don't plan on folding. I just want.
Just call. Don't waste
I
your
just
time.
want to see one card.
I can't do it this time.
He can't. He's got to stay consistent.
How about if I gave you $1,000 out of my pocket to show one card?
Even if you gave me $1 million, I wouldn't show you.
$1 million?
Yeah, the game's been like this all day. For $1 million, not one card will be shown.
I guess you have to have it, right?
If Tony G wins this hand, he's going to have over $1 million in front of him.
I feel like I'm going to make a big mistake here.
What do you have?
I have a pair.
Sevens?
No.
Jacks?
Jacks. Same, something like that, I guess.
And sevens or eights are exciting. I mean, you don't
Right,
have
because then I got a straight draw. I can outdraw you.
You must have one of those hands out of sevens or eights.
He said he couldn't flop much better.
It's the only 2 hands you could have, right? Sevens or eights.
Well, I'm drawing live. That's for sure.
You got one of those hands then?
Yeah, I got a hand. I just should have probably
Just
folded.
go with it.
I'm probably going to.
Just go with it.
He says just go with it.
Just go with it.
I'm probably going to call you. I'm just telling you.
I understand.
But I think it's a bad call.
That's fair enough.
But I'm steaming.
You're entitled to make a bad
I am
call.
steaming, for sure. But I think you have...
It won't be the first or the last bad call you made. We could run it 100 times.
Twice is usually good. 100 times? Am I drawing dead?
No, 16 times I got it cleared. We can run it 16 times.
Oh boy, Tony G. I guess I should... You're a nice guy. You do good things with your money, right?
I do.
You do? All right, I'll give you some more, I guess. All right.
Daniel calls.
You have kings or something?
No, one time. No. 2 eights I have.
Oh, okay. 2 times, or you want to do once or twice? Oh, okay. I usually do twice. But if you want to do once, that's fine.
Once.
If Daniel can dodge trips or a straight, he will double up.
Otherwise, Tony will have a profit of nearly $600,000. Jack of clubs on the turn.
Not a horrible card, but not a good one either.
Oh my God, did that make him more outs? Yeah. I just realized, oh God. I was like, oh Jack, that's a good card. I didn't even think, oh Jack, good, he missed. I was thinking no 7, no 8. And then a queen would come and I'd say, pay me this.
Anything but an 8, a queen, or a 7, and Daniel will double up.
The river, the king of hearts.
It's a scary one.
Why did Tony G make that push, and what was Daniel really thinking? Let's find out as we go behind the poker face.
So we play it for the whole week, and it's been a really tough week for Daniel. He's been under pressure, he's been rebuying. I felt I really dominated him.
Okay, to be honest, at this point in the game, it was hot and heavy, and I was steaming. I was up pretty good, and all of a sudden, I was buried.
And this one big hand comes up where I had 2 8s.
I'm on the button with ace 10 of spades, and Tony G decides to come in for a $2,000 raise, and the loose cannon calls. It looked like a really good spot anyway. Anytime the loose cannon just calls, and I have position, I'm gonna put a squeeze in, because Tony G could have anything. So I went ahead and I raised it to 7,000. Tony G announces,
I will raise the pot.
and he raises 17,000 more to get rid of the loose cannon, and
As I potted again, and Daniel made the full call, which was a very incorrect call considering he didn't have that much money behind. And the flop came 10, 6, 9.
and instantly Tony G says,
Well, I'm all in.
he didn't hesitate for a second.
I felt that was the right play. I just knew it straight away, and I just went with my gut. In this situation, I just want to take the pot. I put a lot of pressure on him. Maybe I could get him to lay down certain hands, like jacks or queens.
There's like, I don't know, 40, 50,000 in the pot. I've got a little over 100,000 to make the call. So I'm just basically trying to go over what kind of hands a Tony G would do that with.
There's $50,000 there. I can reach out and grab if Daniel could fold probably 80% of his hands. I felt there was an 80% chance he has to fold that hand because of my aggression.
You know, I figured if he has aces, kings, or queens, I thought maybe he would want to bet something to get me to call. His big overbet didn't scream like a bluff, though, because I know he's not bluff re-raising me before the flop, so doesn't have a set, though, because if he has a set, he's not going to want me out, right? So I thought, well, maybe there's a chance he has, like, queens or kings is what I really thought he might have, but even if he does, I can still catch an ace or a 10. I've got 5 wins against that. But there's also a chance, because I've seen Tony G do this with small pairs before, that he has a hand like, you know, 2 8s or 2 7s, and wants to just put it in knowing that he's got outs even if he's beat. All right. Finally, I just decided to make the call.
Because of the 4 bets pre-flop, how do you now call with ace-10? I mean, you qualify, you're an absolute donkey. You know, you flop top pair, what, you're going to just call off for 100,000, 105,000? I mean, you're going to be wrong against the G there a lot of the time. I don't put my money in unless I have it.
He had the 8s. Turn card was a jack, which gave him even more outs, and the river card blanked off, and I was back in the game. All of a sudden, it helped me get back on track.
I think Daniel was just tilted up, and I think he was running really bad, having a lot of rebuys, and because of where he was at that stage, he was just thinking he was going to lose every pot. And unfortunately for me, he made a correct call, but I could have got lucky. I could have sneaked something. I didn't, and Daniel took the money.
This next hand features Daniel Negreanu and Lex Veldhuis.
Lex was stuck over 95K, and Daniel was down over 235 grand. Both were looking to turn their nights around, and both know a lot about how the other guy thinks. It's hand 34. The action starts on Barry.
You have it already.
Greenstein looks at 5 tray, folds. Daniel with 10-9 suited, raises to 1,200.
Who lost the last one?
Me, that'd be me. Steaming.
Boom.
The cannon's starting to act like a pro. He's needling. And calling. Doyle calls. Ace-queen for Lex.
Such a good spot.
Oh, him again, him and his spots again.
Except you have to act first.
Oh, yeah.
Lex repops to 7,000.
Lex is in a good spot with the best hand.
Justin folds. Daniel calls. Russ folds.
I'm sure Lex would be pretty happy to play this pot heads up.
I remember writing about this one time, so I guess I'll have
What'd you
to throw
say?
it away.
Heads up.
I remember writing about that hand one time.
Doyle's actually played so much poker in his life that he's encountered every possible scenario.
4-10-4, Daniel with top pair.
I love the 6 spot speech. That was the best part of this hand. It's fun. 11. Huh?
That's a good level, huh?
It was good. 6 spot. Boom, raise, da-da-da.
I hope it works.
A level is a ruse or a mind game. Daniel's intimating that Lex was purposely overselling his hand.
Well, Daniel calls.
I didn't see Daniel calling pre-flop with 10-9 and then folding top pair. No way, no how.
The turn. 6 of clubs gives Daniel a flush draw. Veldhuis checks to Daniel.
My guess is Daniel likes his hand right now. Let's see if he likes it enough to fire and try to take it down.
Nope. Oh, it's a two-handed check. 9 of diamonds on the river.
Daniel's checked for pot control in case he misses or hates the river. He doesn't hate this river. Lex has the choice to either give up or try to figure out what he'd have to do to get Daniel off his hand.
I'm all in.
So you're saying I made a good check on the turn? Is that what you're claiming?
Lex is all in.
Such level. I mean, you know more about my game than anyone, so.
Daniel and Lex play a lot of poker together, and they talk about it even more. Right now, what Lex is doing is trying to make Daniel think he was trying to check raise the turn and rep an overpair.
It's a weird river card for me. You wouldn't do that with ace-10, would you? Actually, I don't know. Is that enough to make the difference for me? I would have felt better if I just bet the turn, you raised, and then I called. That would have been more fun. All right, so you raised. Said 6 spot.
Looks like the mind games might be working against Daniel.
Patented overbet.
Daniel trying to break Lex in the cross-examination.
You put me on a 10, probably. Figure I'm gonna throw it away.
Daniel's probably thinking if he calls and loses, he's going to be stuck over 300 grand.
Well, you played it good. Whatever you got. Fire it on the river. Are you hoping that I'm going to play good here? I'm so confused. I like Lex, too. I could give him money. It's 84.9, right?
Daniel calls. And for a change, sees some good news at Showdown.
Superman Daniel made the hero call, and there's a very unhappy Lex Luthor.
So what was going through Lex's mind there? And how could Daniel call? Let's find out as we go behind the poker face.
Anytime I'm in a game with Lex, it's really just kind of difficult for me because we talk strategy all the time. So we're always thinking on another level. So I raised with 9-10 of clubs, and if a couple people called, and
I made it 7,000 with ace queen. I made it a point to say that it was a 6 spot. Such a good spot. Meaning that it's a good situation to re-raise there, because I knew that if I was going to have to end up bluffing, I didn't want Daniel to start thinking that it was such a good situation for me to re-raise pre-flop, so I wanted him to know that, so that he couldn't get himself talking into a call later.
So I was in position, I called with 9-10 of clubs, and everybody else folded. Now the flop came down 10-4-4, and he bet the flop, so I flopped top pair. I'm going to call, but I'm still worried here because he could have something really big. He could have an overpair.
I think he expects me to always bet that flop, which is kind of hard because as soon as that flop comes out, I know I'm going to have to do something in the hand to win it. At this point, I do think he has something. I don't think he would really get out of line with Queen Jack or a hand like that because he knows that I'm capable of firing a lot of turns.
Well, the turn card comes a club. So now I've got top pair and a flush draw. And Lex checks. And I know Lex is tricky enough that if he had aces or kings, he might check here hoping that I'd go for a bluff and check raise me.
I was kind of planning on check calling the turn and then doing something crazy on the river or triple barreling. But I decided I wanted to go for a check on the turn and I hoped he would check behind and then I could overbet the river.
So I decided, you know what, I'll take a free card for myself. I check. The river card's a 9. Which makes me 10s and 9s, but with 2 4s out there, that shouldn't really matter, because if he has aces or kings, he's still got me beat.
Well, I pretty much think he has the pair of 10s or lower. So against the one pair kind of hand, I think it's really good to overbet and apply a lot of pressure. I just figured that I needed to bet a lot for him to be able to fold, so I decided to go all in.
This is a spot where it really didn't make sense, so I'm wondering, well, is he doing that to fool me into thinking that I should fold or call? So I was just really confused by it for a bit, but the overbet was designed, in a sense, to look like a bluff, and he was hoping that I would think that he's trying to make it look like a bluff and have the nuts and fold, but I guess I thought on one more level thinking, no, he's just trying to fool me.
It becomes a leveling game, as they say. It's kind of chicken and egg. Where do you stop thinking? And you could see that in his thought process. So unfortunately for me, he stopped thinking and he made a great call.
And really, when I play with Lex, every hand we play is going to be like that, where it's just going to be weird and awkward, and you watching at home on TV, you're going to think, what in the world is going on here?